Hey everyone, Joe Kiedinger with Prophit Company, and this is a short rendition of what we call the 30-minute slowdown. And it's going to be raw, it's going to be real, gang. I have some thoughts to share with you. Will it be perfectly 30 minutes? I'm not sure. But we're going to start something because we are in control of what we can do and we're in control of what we decide not to do. And we're deciding to keep spreading some words of slow. Now, some of you reached out and actually encouraged this to happen, so I want to thank you. When we had to cancel S.L.O.W due to what everyone knows why, the situation, it was you're going to have it online still, right? And I'm a person who's naturally wired to just be with people. And being isolated in here and looking at you alone is something that's really new to me. And so it made me pause and realize that, you know what, this is new to everyone. And so I'm just throwing myself out here and trying something that we've never tried before. And I hope what I share with you gives you some encouragement along the way. And so we'll call these mini S.L.O.W meetings for the next 4 weeks for sure. On Thursdays at 3, we're going to have these little 30-minute words of encouragement and something to share. Today, we're going to focus on words. Next week, we're going to focus on your thoughts and how thoughts obviously affect our words. And so let's get into it. Here I have a little agenda I put on the board to help me stay on track with you as we walk through this. And it's funny because as I reflect on 30 minutes slow down, obviously it's a nod to servant leaders of Wisconsin to slow down. I've talked to so many friends and family who are saying, I can't slow down anymore. Like, that's the problem. Everything is so slow. Everything is slowed down that I don't know what to do. And so I guess what we're talking about right now is slow down your mind. Slow down your thoughts. Take it in. Allow your logic to face your emotions because we are in unprecedented times. And I know some of you are watching this saying, Joe, I'm out of a job. Some of you are watching this who maybe own a business and have seen already severe losses. And we'll get into that today. And life goes on. And I know it's hard. And we keep going. So let's focus today on the words, words, words. How do you contribute to the situation we're in? Choose your words. So here's a funny example of how words can change the meaning of a sentence. If I said to my lovely bride, Danica, every time I look into your eyes, time stands still. The women maybe in the audience would go, oh, that is so romantic. Now, I could also say, darling, whenever I see your face, or no, this way, honey, you have a face that can stop a clock. That is very different. That is very different. It's a fun example of how words matter. How you say what you want to say matters. And so we're going to talk about that. I want to remind you that everyone who chose to come here is a leader. And I want to remind you what a definition of a leader is. We need leaders today more than we need anything right now. Leaders, by definition, have influence over another. So by definition, anyone's a leader. I don't care if you're a manager of something or have 3 reports reporting to you. Sure, you're also a leader there. And a 3-year-old can be a leader. A 3-year-old has influence over their parents, don't they? Do this, mommy, don't do that, daddy, that sort of thing. Yes, they have influence over us. So leader by definition has influence. And so how can you contribute to where we are today? Choose your words, especially on social media. Choose your words. You know, Harry Potter, for those of you who remember that famous series that's iconic, the Harry Potter, there was a character called Lord Voldemort, and he was the evil, evil character. And they would say things like, they would refer to him as he who should not be named. He who should not be named. And how do you never mention Lord Voldemort? We are very deliberate in not to mention this thing that starts with a C and ends with a 19. I choose not to mention it. I choose not to name it or call it out. We are in times that are a little uncertain right now. The difference between uncertain and we are going down the chute fast. You see the difference? We're in uncertain times. We're in times that we're going to overcome as leaders. We're at a time in our life where leadership has become so important. So anything you've ever practiced, learned, studied, man, put it into practice now. And so I hope these little 30-minute times with you not only regenerates me and gets me fired up, it reminds me as well when I teach and coach and share. I just want to share with you. I hope they do that for you as well. Let's be reminded as to the power of what leaders are in charge of, and that's our actions and our words, and it all comes from our thoughts. And we'll cover thoughts next week. There's a poem that Tom Thibodeau from Viterbo University used to share, and I don't have the full poem with me right now. I actually tried to find it. I tried to reach out to him, but I do remember this. There's a certain stanza that I'll never forget. It says, "The words you say die with you that day, and they can live with another person forever." I'm going to say it again. The words you say die with you that day, but they can live inside another person forever. I want to share with you a story of when I was a couple years back. I was about to go to a Frank's Let Me Be Frank production at the Meyer Theater with my wife Danica and some friends, and we decided to go, have dinner beforehand. And we went down to the restaurant, and it was packed. Right, it's a bar restaurant, and we got there, and a young lady about my age came from the bar. She goes, Joe Kiedinger, I have something I want to share with you. I've been meaning to share this with you for like over 20 years. And I was like, oh boy, what could this be? Here, honey, why don't you go sit down? I have to talk to someone. I was like, whoa, like not expecting that. And she said something to me that is a complete gift, because when I said these words to her, I was 18 years old. And what she did was she said, I went to St. Joe's Academy, and you went to Abbott Pennings. I said, yes. That was an all-boys school and an all-girls school. If those of you don't remember, those schools are no longer around the area. And she said, we were in the choir, and we were at the cathedral in Green Bay singing the Creation concert, which is a beautiful work. It takes like an hour to sing the whole thing. It's called the Creation. And so we combined the female choir at the Academy and the male choir at Abbott Pennings, and we would stand, alto, soprano, tenor, bass, 2 guys, 2 girls, and then the whole choir would be broken up that way. And I happened to be standing next to her. She was a beautiful soprano. And she said, you said something to me that I'll never forget. And I want to tell you right now, and I want to thank you. And I'm getting really curious. And I said, what was it? She said, when we were at rehearsal, you looked at me and said, wow, you have a really great voice. You should try out for the swing choir, where you sing and dance and so forth, 10 guys, 10 girls. And she said, what you didn't realize is that my father passed away 2 weeks prior to that, or within that month. And I was a daddy's girl. And I thought my whole world was just destroyed. And when you said those words to me, it gave me a sense of hope for the future. And I want you to know that I'm a music teacher in the Green Bay school system. And I thought, wow, here I am in my mid-40s. And I said those words, and I was 18 years old to a 15-year-old. And in my world, they died with me that day. I said that, and then I was probably like, let's go to Dairy Queen, guys, after rehearsal. Let's go get some ice cream. I completely forgot about it. And yet she remembered it to this day. Now, that's a gift to me. I'm not saying that I have that. I'm doing this all the time. I wish I could say I did. But there are times where even you have said these types of kind words to people, and they just died with you, and they lived inside another forever. The same is true with the words we use when we're talking about extreme times, uncertain times. If we label them as super negative and super horrific, we can plant seeds of epic proportion that can scale this thing larger than it ever could be. That's why social media is so critical. We can add words of encouragement. So be careful about the words you use. And so I've been very cautious as to say uncertain times. We are navigating these uncertain times. I have talked to folks who have used much more of much other words that forced us into negativity. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how the brain works, and we have a choice. So when I say you're in control, I'm going to put control here. And maybe you can't read this that well, but it says control. You have a choice. You can either go down here to what's positive, or you can go down here to what is negative. Negative energy. This is terrible. This is horrific. This is going to destroy me. No, it won't. It won't. We will get through this together. Our community is bonding like I've never seen it. People are empathetic. Everyone's in this together. That's the interesting thing about this situation, is that we're all in this together. But the brain, guys, is wired to be 80% negative. Do you know that? 80% of our thoughts. Think about that. And we'll get into this more next week, but 80% of our thoughts are negative. We want to steer the information or events that we experience and label them as bad, good or bad. Our brain wants to label it, good or bad, good or bad. We have a common enemy, this thing that shall not be named, and we can all rally around it. So let me talk to you about stress and managing some of our stress. In between this positive and negative realm that our brain is in, you're human. You're going to feel a little distraught. You're going to have days of this is good, and you're going to have days when this is bad. No big deal. You're a human. I wouldn't expect that. I experience the same. And it's that pendulum swing where we think it's hope, and then it's doom. And then there's hope, and then there's doom. Then there's hope, and then there's doom. That causes stress. It's that caught between this is good and this is bad. And so I encourage you to really be very aware of how you label things. Now, one of our employees today in our morning huddle, we have a morning huddle. So we have a time for, right here, matter of fact, we have a meeting every day at 9 a.m. with all the profiteers gathering. And even though many of us are remote, as we're quarantined and so forth, we get on using electronic means like Zoom, and we connect. And we keep communicating, and we keep talking. We pick a core value, and a profiteer can talk to it, and we rotate on whose turn it is. So wonderful Lori, our most tenured employee, has been here over 12 years. She drew up words of encouragement from the internet, and she shared these beautiful words with us. And I want to read this to you because this is some science that she dug up on her own to share with the group. And it says, inspirational words of encouragement have a powerful effect on the mind. A 2015 study by Brain and Behavior confirmed that repeating a word or phrase quiets what is known as the default mode network. That's the 80% of your brain that's negative. That's what I call that. And it's a network that fills the mind with busy, distracting thoughts. Repeating mantras like, I'm going to make this a great day. I'm in control here. I will control what I bring out into the universe, into social media. I will control that. It gives you rest. It rests your mind. It helps you focus. And it lets you see the world without all the distracting chatter. Encouraging phrases themselves spark a positive neurological response. As early as the 1970s, scientist John Eccles, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, found that just by speaking positive verbs out loud, the area of the brain responsible for movement jumped into action. For movement, like let's go, let's take action. Other researchers have continued to prove these findings. In the last few decades, that's when we repeat positive phrases, our brain physically responds. When we repeat positive phrases, our body physically responds to it. Your brain dictates what you're going to do. That's why our words are so critical. And so now what do you do? What do you do if you are fortunate enough to be in the workplace? And I know some of you are not. Not even in the workplace, meaning physically, but at least you're connected working from home. Some folks cannot. I know friends of mine from the hospitality business. My own brother is hurting right now because they're in the events business. And so that's hard and that's tough, and we will overcome, we will endure. What do you do? My first bit of advice is to over communicate. Like I mentioned, we have a huddle with our entire company every morning at 9. We're doing that remote. And our production departments and the teams that have to work together continually have increased the number of times they touch base, because we have to be there for each other emotionally. We have to be there if you're struggling with something. We have to allow time to intercept and connect because we're humans. We need that connection. So over communicate that it's going to be all right. It doesn't mean to be dishonest. It doesn't mean there may be challenging times ahead. It doesn't mean that we have to do things differently, like I'm doing with you right now. You can face the truth and be honest. Matter of fact, I don't interpret this as not being honest. I'm saying you can choose your words when being honest. Email updates. Send emails to the group. Whoever you're leading, remind them what's going on. We're doing okay. Last night I emailed to everyone, well, it's our first day going remote with folks being scattered all over. Here's what I've heard that went well. I'm not sure what didn't go well. Make sure you share your burden. And then I want to pick on something that, man, if you ever have been in a business and you wonder what core values are all about, now is the time to test them. This is why we have core values. And I brought mine to speak to, because when we had to make these tough decisions of these uncertain times, we went right to our core values. Our number one is dignity. Choose to respect. Whatever a person's personal belief is, for example, my personal belief on this situation, whether it's highly contagious, which it is, or whether this doom is going to happen or that, we have to be respectful of every human being's dignity here at Prophit. So if someone feels that they need to distance themselves or can't attend a meeting or so forth, we respect that. Dignity guides our path. Perseverance, we can accomplish more together. Well, boy, that core value is really serving us as we decide to persevere together. Matter of fact, I shared before this pandemic broke out, we did our state of the company address. I talked about how every profiteer is gritty. And gritty is they stick with things, and they stick with things, and they don't give up, and they're hungry to learn. And we've got grit. We've got calluses on our hands, and we need gritty people to get through these things. How about unique? Think differently. What we're doing right now, never imagined this. Now you could say, well, people do this all the time, Joe. I know. And I grew up in the theater business. I performed with Frank at Let Me Be Frank Productions, used to own a performing arts school. So being on stage is kind of all I know as far as presentation format. And so this is new to me. And that's okay. We'll fight through it. And then being courageous, bold humility. Man, I think that is the top core value that we are asking our profiteers to be, is courageous. It's okay to have some anxiety and a little bit of worry, but let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. Matter of fact, when we say persevere, one of our rules is to share your burden. Man, now's the time to share your burden. Get it out of your mind. If you're holding on to something, just speak it. Speak it calms it down. And then process. The system is a solution. We're still in business. And this process value says we're going to follow our processes. We're just going to follow them slightly differently based on the current reality. But the process about how to edit and how to create and how to communicate, as far as when and how, that stays the same. There is a tweak in the how as far as remotely. So our core values have been our guiding light during this difficult time. And I really encourage you to go back to your core values. I know a lot of folks say, I don't even know what my core values are. I know there's a sign somewhere. Well, now's the time to read them. If you don't have core values, or if you do, but they've just kind of been a picture on a wall, now's the time to look at them, place them in the context of this situation, and better define what it means to live those core values, and then send them to your team over and over again. You can start doing that now. Boy, our core value is faithful. Let's all be there for each other. Whatever your core values are, honesty, integrity, all those core values come in handy because they remind us who we are and how we should behave And especially we need that guiding light when making decisions during times of uncertainty. And finally, my words of encouragement for you are you're in control. I know I mentioned it, but as much out of control as you feel, I want to remind you that you are in control. You are in control of your thoughts. You are in control of your words. You are in control as leaders to contribute to words of encouragement through your social media posts, through your company, through your family. And how about the little ones at home? I don't know about you, but I'm finally reconnecting with my kids. I mean, for goodness sakes, I've got these teenagers and a 24-year-old son who is a perfect time, happens to be in the house until his next adventure. So it's perfect timing for him to be with us. They're spending more time downstairs, communicating, doing TikToks. I mean, in the old world, they come back from their class or back from school, they're exhausted, they go up in their room, they're watching their own movie or doing their own homework privately, and you might see them for dinner, and then it's, see you, bye, next day starts. Oh man, it's changed in our household. I'm cherishing those moments. And I encourage you to really use this time to encourage those moments as well, to really soak it in and to laugh and to love and be close to the ones you're with, the ones you're quarantined with, because these are precious times. We don't often get this type of focus. So at the end of the day, we will be victorious, all of us. We will be healthy. We will get past it. We will move on. We always have. Pearl Harbor, 9/11. 9/11 wasn't so far away. We banded together. We're doing it together now. We're staying quarantined. We're contributing to what needs to be done. Those are my words of encouragement for you. We're leaders. We're in control. Be aware of your words and have a great day. All right. See you guys.